Witnesses are taking the stand in the equal pay civil trial between former news anchor Sandra Maas and KUSI-TV.
CBS 8's Kelly Hessedal is live downtown. She's been in the courtroom all day with what we've learned so far. Kelly.
That's right. And the first witness on the stand today was a woman named Lisa Berger, and she was the assistant news director at the time when Sandra Maas worked at KUSI. And she testified that Maas was warm, that she would mentor some of the younger producers and writers. She said that there were no complaints that she knew of about Maas to the general manager or to HR. During opening statements this morning, here's what Maas's attorney told the jury.
Evidence will instead show, in this case, that Ms. Maas's contract was not renewed for two reasons. The first reason, and KUSI's stated reason at the time when it did not renew her contract, was that it wanted to bring a new generation to the station.
And Maas's lawyer went on to say that the second, quote, unspoken reason she was fired was because she blew the whistle on how much less she was getting paid compared to her male co-anchor, even though they were doing the same amount of work. They say KUSI violated California's Equal Pay Act and discriminated against Maas because of her age and her gender. Now, when she left, she was making about $180,000 a year compared to Alan Denton, who was making about $250,000 a year, even though they anchored the same shows. However, KUSI's defense attorneys told the jury Denton had more big market experience, that he came here from the Bay Area. They point out after Denton retired, Maas was making more than any of the other anchors at the station, both male and female. They claim the new format the station was moving toward, Maas just wasn't suited for it. They also claim she had a bad attitude.
Especially toward the end of her career, Mr. Cohen and others at the station found Ms. Maas to be disengaged, diffident, and disinterested in working to make the news program better. She complained about KUSI in texts to her friends, to a coworker at the station. She called it a She said it was a toxic place.
And so that is just some of what we heard today. Now, there was this one moment where the courtroom gallery did kind of react. They were talking about experience level, and they had a side-by-side of Sandra Maas's education level compared to Alan Denton's. Sandra Maas had a bachelor's degree from Chico State, while Alan Denton had a high school diploma. And you could hear some of the people in the gallery kind of gasp, I guess because they were surprised. This trial is expected to last at least 2 weeks. Heather and Carlo.
Well, Kelly, certainly a number of moments stood out in the story you just shared. Anything else happen in the courtroom today?
Yeah, and there was another moment during the first witness's testimony where she was it seemed like the plaintiff's attorney was trying to kind of paint this picture of what the atmosphere is like at KUSI. And so the assistant news director said, I had to work weekends because apparently this former weekend anchor needed, quote, adult supervision because he had a lot of temper tantrums. And I looked over at the jury, and there was one juror who was kind of laughing. Now, speaking of the jury, it is made up of 8 men, 4 women, and there are 2 female alternate jurors.
A lot of people are interested in this story. We know a lot of our viewers remember Sandra Maas from being here on CBS 8 before she went to KUSI. Kelly Hessedal with the latest on that from downtown. Thanks, Kelly.